One of the things that I would say that myself and my partners have been really great at, and I learned this 100% from my brother, is the culture that we've built here at Guac Shop is kind of foundationally built upon the growth mindset. I like to think that once we bring new hires into our locations and they're introduced to our existing team first and foremost, because it is a family at the end of the day, we want our environment and our workplace to be healthy. We want it to feel like a place where, our staff are excited to come to work to every day and ultimately enjoy what they do.
Welcome back to New York's Business Podcast. My name is Jacob Restituto. I am the host and owner of Restituto Media, a full-service photo and video company here based on Long Island. And today I have Luke from the Guac Shop, or Guac Shop, not
Yes,
the
sir.
Guac Shop, Guac Shop. We're in your Comac location, but you guys have locations all throughout the island and also in Florida as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Likewise. Yeah, you too, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So for people that aren't familiar with you and your story and also this restaurant, please, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Luke Tesoriero. I'm one of the co-owners and managing partners here at Guac Shop. Fortunate to be in business with my family. So we are a family-owned and operated business. Our first location was in Garden City, New York on 7th Street. We opened that 7 years ago this past March. Since then, we've grown to multi-units throughout Long Island and Queens, and actually just recently opened our first expansion location in Florida too. So my brother is down in Florida. He relocated his family and he's running expansion down there as we look to open more stores. And myself and our team up in New York are going to keep on pushing and hopefully keep opening these babies up. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I love talking to family businesses and family business owners because it's a totally different dynamic
Yes.
than working with just people that aren't family.
Yeah.
So in a good and bad way, you can fire family from the business, but you can't fire family from actually being family.
Yeah.
So it creates a really unique dynamic. But I'm curious with the Florida expansion. I want to get into this a little bit more later, but I'm curious if that was he relocated for the business or he relocated after the business.
I think a little bit of both. I mean, I think selfishly, the personal side of it is, who wouldn't want to be in, 90-degree weather and sunny? We're on the west coast of Florida, about 25 minutes away from the Gulf of Mexico. So definitely saw it as like a personal opportunity, better, environment, for the family, et cetera. But also for the business as well. It's been a dream of ours to be multi-unit. We want to continue to grow this thing, and kind of see where we could take it. So it was kind of a perfect fit, and the timing was right. And we're really fortunate that so far it's been great. It's been a fantastic opportunity as well, a learning curve, but I think there's a lot of success to follow, and we're really fortunate. We have a fantastic team up here in New York that has allowed us to be able to continue to expand and grow. And same thing for down in Florida as well. Our executive chef who started with us, founded the company with us, is actually down there as well. He relocated, so he's been a tremendous asset to not only myself but my brother as well. And I think we're headed in the right direction, and we have a fantastic team that's gonna help us kind of propel and grow as we do it. So
To answer the question that you started that answer with, I am the person that does not have any interest in 90-degree weather.
Yeah. I do a little bit. I'm a little jealous when I see that when we get on FaceTime and stuff. But we get to visit a lot, so it's awesome.
That's too funny. No, my in-laws live down there in the Tampa area, and we joke with my wife all the time, like, you got to take me down there in a body bag. I have no interest.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. Let's talk about the multi-units.
Of course.
So you started in Garden City.
Yes.
How did you know you were ready to expand and say, okay, I want to open up more units? What was that you said, okay, we're ready? And then also, how was that process?
So that process was definitely daunting. It was the first time that my brother, and as well as myself, obviously being new to the industry at that time, it was the first time that we had made a move like that. But we were very fortunate. One of the things that has kind of propelled us to success here at Guac Shop is we're very community oriented. I think that kind of stems from the fact that we are a family owned and operated business. Like, our main goal, especially when we open new stores, and our main goal when we opened Garden City 7 years ago, was we want to entrench ourselves in the community as much as possible. We want Guac Shop to feel like a place where student athletes, parents, and young families can come, quick casual lunch on the go, obviously health conscious. We're very active with fundraising efforts in the local schools, universities, healthcare, first responders. So I think that really contributed to our growth. It helped us spread our name pretty quickly. And ultimately we saw an opportunity and said, you know what, at this point in the game, we've been really fortunate to kind of build a fantastic team, from essentially the ground up at our Garden City store that really, allowed us to kind of propel ourselves and continue to expand. So it was an amazing opportunity. Like many business owners, it was very challenging, and our expansion actually started pretty much with COVID, which fortunately for us, like as we'll speak about, kind of the idea of pivoting and entrepreneurship and just overall in life. Fortunately for us, we were able to pivot and turn it into one of the greatest things that's happened for us as our company. It kind of pushed our digital, or the digital side of our business forward, and we were already prepared for that on the different third-party apps and being able to order Guac Shop for delivery on our own website. So it was really a catalyst for success at the end of the day for us, and it allowed us to continue to not only expand for ourselves, but for the amazing staff that we had along the way, and fortunately still do have. So
I'm curious, in the multi-unit business structure that you guys have, the restaurant industry is unique in the sense that there's a lot of the same style of restaurants.
yes.
Even within this 1 mile that we're in, or a couple of miles that we're in, there's two different restaurants, same industry,
Yes.
Both multi-unit. So I'm curious, how do you guys differentiate yourself?
Yeah, so there's a few things that we look to at Guac Shop, like part of our mission here. First and foremost is obviously the product. I mean, we want to put together a fresh, healthy, and consistent product, whether you're dining with us in Florida or you're dining with us here in New York. The quality and the product itself will speak for itself. So we use very high quality produce, very high quality proteins, and that's really our number one commitment. The second thing is our customer service. So we started off in a full service restaurant background. So a lot of what we learned and love about that personal feel when you go to your favorite local restaurant, when you know the server knows your order, like that's part of our training process when we're opening new locations and hiring new staff. We want you to come to our stores and feel within the interaction you have with our staff that we, number one, are family owned and operated, and we treat our staff like family. And number two, our staff, has that personal touch to it. It's not like a robotic experience. What can I get for you today? Right where you're brown rice. It's not about that. It's hey John, how are you? It's great to see you again. I hope everything's doing well, and what can I get started for you? You want to try something new today. So the customer service is definitely a huge part of what differentiates ourselves as well. And then, ultimately, is the community aspect. Like I mentioned, like we're really active in our local communities. We want to be even more involved than we already are. Fundraising efforts, local universities, elementary schools, high schools, what have you. So I would say those are the three biggest things towards our success. And one of the things that myself and my partners really try to do is like that level of customer service, whether you're calling us to book a catering or you're in our store ordering your meal for your friends and family, like it's consistent, and no matter who you talk to, like that expectation has been set, and we're really lucky. Like I said, we've really developed a great team and a great culture within our company. So it's kind of I would say those are the three differentiators for us.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's talk about Florida versus New York. I found, speaking to business owners, that sometimes as they open multi-unit, different locations, not even calling different states, but for example, even just on the island, each location has its unique feel. Do you find that the New York locations have different feels or touches than the Florida location, or are they relatively consistent throughout?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our Florida store actually, it's interesting. Like our Florida location has two beautiful palm trees that are kind of right in front of our sign. And it's funny because like it's our sign right in the center and two beautiful palm trees like on either side. So it definitely has that Floridian feel to it. It's got beautiful windows in the front. The sun shines directly into it, and you almost like, even though we are a little bit far away, like 20 minutes or so from the Gulf of Mexico, like that energy is prevalent there. So I would say it's definitely got more of a Floridian feel to it. But like I said, as far as like our artwork, the custom art that we have in our locations and our product itself, there is definitely, consistency. And I do truly believe that if you were to be visiting us at our Florida store and order your exact order that you have every day at our Garden City location, the product and the experience itself will be exactly the same. And that's really what we're looking for.
Speaking of multi-units, how do you handle social media? Do you handle one main account for all Guac Shop? Do you handle separate locations, have each their own account? How does that work?
Yeah, we do one centralized Instagram and social media pages for our entire company. One of the things that we're piloting and what we really like to do is we want our social media to feel organic. So, what we're trying to do is almost find a way to provide like an internship type model for kids in universities and even high schools to figure out a way to team out with our local universities to offer almost college credits for being able to get experience in like social media marketing. Because I mean, as you know, it's a tremendous asset to really any business owner, especially in our industry. So that's one of the things that we're piloting. So our Instagram is and our social media, I would like to say, is very organic. Although it is definitely products, focused, people want to come to our page and see what we offer. But we also are looking to make it like community focused, see our customers. One of our big taglines, kind of like what's your style. So when you come into our store, you obviously have a plethora of options. Like what's your favorite combination? What do you like? And that's kind of one of the things that we're looking to kind of highlight, that you can come to Guac Shop. Guac Shop is a place where you can come multiple times a week and have a completely different meal, but the same exact high quality experience. So that's kind of how we use social media. Like I said, it's a tremendous asset. We also are looking to use it in a way that, obviously when we opened our first store, it was myself, it was my younger brother, it was my older brother, my partners that were physically the ones behind the line, facilitating the customer experience and running the day-to-day. Obviously, we are still hyperactive in the business. We are completely hands-on in all facets. But being that we have multi-units now, it's an obstacle that we've, looked to hurdle is like, how do we bring our touch, our feel, to all of our locations at the same time, So how do we communicate that? Social media is a tremendous asset, and that's kind of what we're looking to do. We want to leverage, our social media platform so that when you enter our Colmac location, Florida, Jericho, whatever it might be, that you feel like we're the one serving you, and you understand, how we've built and how we've, the foundation that we've built and how we're looking to continue to grow. So
very interesting. Something you mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation regarding the onboarding of employees was that you train them to treat everybody like family.
yes.
Talk to me about the onboarding process, but also how you train that into somebody.
Yeah, of course. So really, one of the things that I would say that myself and my partners have been really great at, and I learned this 100% from my brother, is the culture that we've built here at Guac Shop is kind of foundationally built upon the growth mindset. So one thing that we challenge our new hires to executive level management and even ourselves every day is, how do we get 1% better at something every day? So whether it's something as mundane as, how do I get better at bagging a to-go order once it's prepared, or how do I get better at approaching a guest when they're sitting in our dining room and have eaten, like that's the culture within our restaurant. And we've been able to foster the growth of a team that is completely like-minded in that regard. So, I like to think that once we bring new hires into our locations and they're introduced to our existing team first and foremost, because it is a family at the end of the day. A lot of us spend more time in the restaurants than we do in our own homes. So we want our environment and our workplace to be healthy. We want it to feel like a place where, our staff and whether, again, executive level management or new hires, are excited to come to work to every day and ultimately enjoy what they do. So as far as like the onboarding process, like I think that groundwork that we've laid in and a lot of what my brother has instilled in me and in turn we've instilled in our team is a lot of it kind of almost gets done for us in a way. And then we just kind of like are there, as a resource to all of our staff to basically push them forward and at the same time, communicate the mission, to them that like, listen, like we're committed to growth. We'd like to continue to grow. So I know that you might be coming in today and it might be your first time training on a grill, but the probability of you having an opportunity to become a store level manager, area supervisor, regional manager, is it's not even probable, it's certain. Like if you're committed to it and something that you're interested in, we will do everything that we can to provide you the tools to be able to excel, because at the end of the day, we wouldn't have been able to go to multi-unit if we didn't have a team that was excited by that and built in, bought into that type of culture. So that's kind of our onboarding process. It's really like, it's culturally driven. Obviously, the fundamentals of serving guests and operating the restaurant are tremendous. Food safety, etc. Like that is all, we're extremely detailed oriented in that regard. But the culture itself is, I think, one of the things that differentiates us from our competition. So.
Continuing on that a little bit more in depth, what are you looking for in a new hire?
Yeah.
Somebody walks in, what are the traits that you're looking for?
Yeah, of course. Really, the biggest thing for me is my dad always told me, like, presentation is everything. I'm not saying come to a Guac Shop interview in a full suit, but if you did, you would definitely, it would obviously, catch our eyes and it'd be impressive. But really, you want to present yourself well. We'll look at people. We're looking for like-minded people who are number one, okay with and accepted or receptive to coaching. And number two, we want people that present themselves well and can communicate and be personality forward. As far as like we said, like the fundamentals of working in our stores, like we've got that down to a science. We can teach and we can execute that, but I can't teach somebody all the time how to be, necessarily how to smile when a customer walks in. Like those are kind of intangible things that when myself, my brother, and our management team are conducting interviews, like those are things that we notice right in the beginning. And listen, we understand the fact that, if you're coming to work at Guac Shop, especially if like you're a young high school or college kid, we understand that you might not be necessarily committed to a career in the restaurant industry. To be completely transparent, I actually wasn't even committed to a career in the restaurant industry when I first started. But what I look to do and what my brother looks to do and what we've instilled in our trainers and management is like, we want to provide you with the tools to not only be a great Guac Shop employee, but to be a great employee in general, to have that skill set, to be great, leaders in your community, brothers, sisters, husbands, aunts, uncles, fathers, parents. Like we want to instill, those types of characteristics in our staff because, again, at the end of the day, it's only going to help facilitate their growth. And should they choose to continue to work with us, and hopefully we hope that they do, and we've had great success in that. But if they do, it'll help us continue to grow as well. So that's kind of really, what we look for. Obviously if you're fantastic with a knife and you have tons of restaurant experience, like that's a huge plus, but it's not necessary for us. We're looking for people who want to buy into the mission, looking for opportunity, and at the end of the day are just hungry for an opportunity to work in a great, culturally sound company.
Let's talk about actually back to the beginning, but also how it's evolved.
Yeah.
You open up the restaurant. How do you get your name out there?
Yeah.
And then, so that's the beginning stage of it. And then what are you doing actively now to get yourself out there?
Of course. So our approach to marketing is like, at the end of the day, like we want as many people to try our product as we possibly can. So our marketing budget, as far as like our internal marketing budget as a company, even to this day, like we don't spend a ton of money on it. Instead, like we'd rather reach out to, again, like, police officers, firemen, local schools, sports teams, like Little League, etc. Like, listen, hospitals. Listen, my name is Luke. I'm one of the owners of Guac Shop. We're recently opening a new store, in your area. I would love the opportunity to compliment, send you a complimentary catering for you and your staff, or you and your teammates or your colleagues. And myself, my brother, our management, we will be the ones who personally deliver it.
Wow.
And we'll ensure that it's set up the way that we would, and kind of facilitate that process, explain our product. So our marketing is very product forward in that regard. Obviously, as we become a little bit more, as we continue to grow as a company, there's certain, intangible things that you need to have, such as a social media presence. You want to be, we've experimented with direct mail and digital marketing, et cetera, SEO. So those are all parts of it. At the end of the day, there really is not one, there's not a one size fits all answer, especially in our industry. So we like to have kind of a mixed bag of it, but we found that the most amount of success we had is when, myself, our team, my partners are the ones that are physically, bringing food to our people in our community and our new locations, on a consistent basis, and just getting our product out there as much as we can.
I think that people underestimate the value of the product. I think that I just think, based on my years of marketing experience and what I do in my industry, that people, and it definitely works, just in the sense of like, hey, here's my product, I'd love for you to come try it.
Yeah.
And definitely, that's general marketing. That's what you see on TV. That's billboards. It's everything. Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram. That's marketing. But then the sense of going the extra mile, almost to some degree, the guerrilla marketing, where it's like,
that's really what it is.
It's there's this quote that I've heard plenty of times, but it's essentially scaling the unscalable. Like, it's not super scalable to go and deliver food to all these places, but that as you continue to do that, and as you continue to scale that, it's a compounding effect, and that has such a larger impact. It's easier to sit in your office and make up an Instagram ad, right? But then to actually go out and say, hey, and offer the free product to the local restaurant, to the local businesses from the restaurant, and first of all, it makes such an impact, a lasting impact. Be like, now what happens? That employee, the nurse that comes home with that free meal, that says, this restaurant just gave me it was, first of all, it was phenomenal. Second of all, like, that's really cool. Like, it was the highlight of the day, and it just makes such a more dramatic impact than just seeing an Instagram ad as you're scrolling, wherever you are, whether it be, on the train, driving, the bathroom. Like, it just doesn't have that same impact.
Yeah, and that's actually, the guerrilla marketing side of it might be one of my favorite parts of the business. Like, I really enjoy the opportunity to meet our customers and be able to network, not only myself, but our brand, and be able to, kind of like we mentioned, bring that personal feel to coming to Guac Shop. Like, that's for me is probably one of our, it's our biggest strengths, and as we grow, it's going to be one of our biggest challenges. So if we could instill that within our staff as we continue to grow, at the end of the day, it's all extensions of us, and it all kind of flows together. So I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, if I could be behind the counter every day at our stores, I would be, because I do enjoy it. My favorite part about it is again, building that relationship with our guests and it's a really beautiful thing. And like you said, it has exponential, results too.
Yeah.
So
The guerrilla marketing is a really interesting thing because, again, it takes a certain type of business owner to even think about that. Breaking outside of the traditional. The best example I can think of is, are you familiar with the Red Bull example?
Yes.
When Red Bull was, they filled up the garbage cans locally, and then everybody's like, what is this? Oh, everybody's drinking all these Red Bull. They're just empty Red Bull cans.
Yeah.
Be an interesting thing if you went to like these local fairs or something like that, and then just took your empty wrappers and filled the garbage cans.
Yeah.
All
Our
your wrappers.
quesadilla boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, oh wow, people are like
they
crushing all
love it.
these things. The interesting thing.
Yeah,
It's just breaking out of the traditional mold and breaking into somebody's psyche
Yeah.
is a really, really interesting thing.
Yeah, of course.
What opportunities do you see in the industry for you?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. So opportunities, I think when you speak of opportunities, are you looking more for Guac Shop or more of a personal approach to the opportunity?
You tell me. Let's talk about the Guac Shop first.
Yeah, I would say for Guac Shop, I think the movement towards and the shift towards healthy eating, but in a quick service environment, like for example, the young professionals, like I think that demand is growing. We even see some of like the big fast food players, such as like the Chipotle, or excuse me, the McDonald's CEO, like speaking on it. The idea of like, having a protein-rich diet and sourcing fresh ingredients, etc. So for us, like we're really fortunate that that's like a main foundational piece of our business. So we just want to continue to expand upon that. You see the shift towards not using seed oils, etc. We are all over that, and one of the things that we're working on is being able to basically completely power our stores and all of our product through, like, let's say, avocado oil. So that's a huge part of our business that we've already entrenched ourselves in. So I see that definitely as an opportunity. Also, like kind of we spoke about, like I feel like we touch on it a lot, but it's one of my main focuses and our team's main focus is like, since COVID, I think life, especially here in New York, has like become it's exponentially faster, faster paced. With the whole mobile ordering, pickup and delivery, etc. That's a huge portion of our business. So we want to be extremely detail oriented in that factor. But on the same, on the same token, like I think there's a growing demand for like coming into a place and having a good experience. Like just because you've ordered with us online for pickup or delivery, whether you're the driver or you're the actual customer, like imagine going into a place with, no music playing and nobody behind the counter and nobody greeting you. Like we want you to walk into our stores, whether you're dining here or you're picking up or you're delivering for one of our other guests. Like we want you to hear the music. We want you to see the live artwork. We want you to be greeted by staff. And again, like, have these personal relationships. Like we've had Uber Eats drivers, DoorDash drivers, Easy Cater drivers that have been coming to our stores like for 7 years now, on a daily basis. And like, our team knows them by their first and last name. Like when we have leftover product at the end of the evening, like that's who's getting called. Like that's and same thing with our guests. So like I would say those are the two biggest, things that we're looking to expand upon in our business. And I think it's a growing demand in the restaurant industry, especially quick service. So I mean, I would say those are the two biggest opportunities for sure. And for us, like we're really fortunate. Like we've built our company on this. Like our staff is familiar with it, and like we're just going to continue to lean into that as much as we possibly can.
I want to actually expand on both of those because I think those are both really interesting topics. We'll start with the latter, and then I want to hear more about the clean eating. But just talking about the delivery service.
Of course.
You mentioned that you have in-house delivery.
Yes.
And so all locations or certain locations?
So it's white labeled. So you can go to Guac Shop, and this is the preferred way to order by far, because God forbid there is an issue with an order. You're dealing with directly, our staff, and we're handling that on the spot. We're not going through a third-party service. But you could order Guac Shop for delivery when you go directly through our website. It is white labeled by our delivery partners, such as Uber Eats and DoorDash. However, there's much less hoops for us to, the business owner, have to jump through, like should there be an issue. Additionally, I think a ton of business owners would agree with me when I say like that is by far the preferred way to order. When you order through a business for a pickup or delivery, it's always best to go direct through them because these other, third parties charge huge amounts of commissions, some as much as like 30%. And that's a big obstacle. Like in this industry, like you more or less have to be on those platforms to be competitive, especially in a quick service format. So it's a challenge for a lot of restaurant owners and a lot of people in our space. So if you can support them and order directly through a website, we definitely encourage it. And again, it not only allows us to feature our product at a better price point, at a lower price point for not only us to procure the order and for our guests themselves, but again, there's way more checks and balances in place. And God forbid there's an issue. Like again, you're calling Guac Shop. our customer service team throughout all hours of operations is answering. We have all your order info. We will dispatch you new drivers. We will deliver it personally. We'll issue you store credit. We'll do whatever it takes to leave you with a positive experience. Unfortunately, when you place orders through the third party, obviously we're extremely grateful, but there's additional, networks and channels that we have to go through to get you, what we feel that you deserve and what we would have already, accomplished in probably half the amount of time. So
being that this is a business podcast now, and we like talking about the way that things work behind the scenes, I appreciate you talking about the white label.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah.
What do you, when you're saying white label, particularly related to the delivery service,
Yeah.
what does that actually look like?
Of course. So one of the changes that we've made recently is since we've actually opened, we've worked with a POS company called Square. We are huge fans of Square. At one point, it did not only our payroll, but our marketing, our credit card processing, POS, etc., scheduling. One of the changes that we made recently is we now offer our product via Square Online. So essentially, it's an exact extension of our in-store, experience on our website. And then from there, Square has fostered relationships with the likes of, let's say, DoorDash and Uber Eats to be able to, cross-utilize their drivers for their Square Online orders. Again, so it's not our actual staff delivering our order. However, we have way more control over it, and it's, again, much cheaper for us, which is in turn much cheaper for the guest. So that's one of the biggest changes. It's great because our in-store, guests and our online guests now speak with one another. So what do I mean by that? If you are, let's say, an office employee, a young professional, and you dine at our Jericho location very frequently, sometimes you're able to order online. Sometimes you say, you know what, I got a little bit extra time for lunch, or it's a beautiful day today. I want to go out and I want to sit down in the restaurant. Our loyalty rewards points, which our guests love and we love to offer, they speak with one another. So when you're ordering online, you're accruing awards. When you're ordering in store, you're accruing awards. They're in the same database, in the same exact subset. So you can use our rewards whether you're ordering online or in store. So those are some of the things that that as we grow, we've recognized as challenges and that we're looking to solve for our guests to ultimately make the ordering experience and just the overall Guac Shop experience, one, more efficient, two, more cost effective, and three, overall a better experience, more enjoyable. So
let's pivot now to that first part of the conversation we were
Yeah.
talking about with the opportunity. You mentioned the clean eating.
of course.
I do find that that's a relatively broad topic. So you obviously went a little deeper with the seed oils, but what is go a little deeper into the caveat of clean
Yeah.
eating? What does that look like for you specifically?
Yeah, I would love that. So for us, across our company, our entire product line is prepared fresh, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, including, obviously our guacamole, which is, it better be good and it better be fresh. It's in our name. But that's definitely a huge part of it. We take multiple deliveries at all of our stores every week. So our product is, we constantly have fresh product rotating through the store, which not only helps us as a business owner because I can kind of keep track of product and pace the business better, but for the actual product itself, we're constantly getting fresh product to the store. You hear it all the time, sometimes people joke oh, don't go to this restaurant on Sunday because they don't get their fish delivered on Tuesday. That doesn't happen at Guac Shop. We don't actually even have freezers in any of our locations. Everything is prepared fresh. So that's one of the big things. And then there's also our actual menu itself. For example, our chicken is all white meat, chicken breast. Our barbacoa is slow roasted. Our carnitas is slow roasted. Both of them actually 8 hours overnight at every single one of our locations. All of our locations are scratch kitchens. And our recipe books are concise, and we're not looking to overly complicate it. We want the product to be one of the biggest things is obviously it's flavor dense. We make our own homemade taco seasoning, which is really one of the stars of our shows. We roast our own cumin, but so it's obviously packed with flavor, right? We have to nail the flavor. We are a Mexican concept. We want it to be great. But one of the biggest things that you'll know right away just by looking at it is that it's fresh product, man. And that's even our homemade sauce is prepared fresh every day. That's just how we roll, and that's never something that we're going to waver. Whether we're now at 8 locations or at 50, all of our product is going to be prepared fresh every day, and that's us, man.
It is really, really, really interesting to see the shift in culture.
Yeah.
I'm we talked briefly about each other before we started filming, and one thing I didn't mention, the fact that I manage a small farm.
Oh, nice.
And that being said, I've been into the cold clean eating for quite a while.
Of course.
I'm growing a lot of my own fruits and vegetables. I'm a big hunter, so I do a lot of I get a lot of my meat that way.
Yeah.
I also buy a half a cow every year.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for 7-8
That's
years.
amazing.
So I'm all for this, and that being said, I've been doing this for a while. I make my own sourdoughs and everything like
That's
that.
awesome.
So
We're gonna hire you, man.
I'm ready for the homestead. But that being said, being that I've been doing this for a while, it's really interesting to see culture being like, now like practically like everybody on my block is making a sourdough, and now like just a shift in culture. Now we've been doing those seed oils for a while, particularly because like when I would go out to eat a couple of years ago, like I just wasn't feeling good after, and I noticed that as I stopped going out to eat, which I still enjoy going out to eat, but like every time I would go out, I just would not feel good, right?
Yeah.
So I realized, oh, these are part of the issues. And again, I'm not like intolerant of it. I'm not going to die if I'm not going to go into anaphylactic shock. But like, I just don't feel good, so it makes me not want to enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to see now the past year or two, the culture completely shifting in that direction.
Of course. Yeah.
But one thing I've always found, particularly for myself, and now I'm seeing it in culture, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on this, is that I find that now, particularly, people are more willing to pay for a higher price point for a product that they know is a higher quality, because that they know you got to pay for something. You're going to pay for it in food now, and that's a higher price point, or you'll pay for it in hospital bills later.
Of course.
I'm curious your opinion on that.
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. I mean, listen, there's no secret. Like, we are an elevated brand, so we do use a very high quality, fresh product. That does come with a cost, not only to us, but to the consumer. So you're 100% right. Again, it's not something that we're looking to waver from, but it's something that we're looking to make more attainable. And there's there's a wider array, there's a wide variety, a wide variety of ways that we're able to accomplish that. One being our loyalty program. Two, we offer crazy weekly specials every week when you order direct. So not only does it incentivize you to order direct through our own website, which we definitely would like to say that, like, for other people in our industry, we highly advise that. But for example, we do 25% off burritos every Monday, 25% off quesadillas every Sunday. We have what's called like a family style taco package, where essentially it's a build your own taco kit for 4 to 6 guests at home. Typically it's like 60 something or $69.99, etc. On Saturdays we feature it for only $40. So like our call to market was as like, you can feed your family for $40. So like we're really conscious of that. We understand that the modern day consumer is price sensitive. So we're looking to kind of walk that fine line, and fortunately our concept and the volume that we're looking to instill in our stores allows us to do that. And it also separates us from the competitors. Honestly, I should have mentioned that before. I'm glad we're speaking on it now. So yeah, that's kind of how we bridge the gap, and you're 100% right. I mean, like I said, we do use a high quality product. Our goal is to be an elevated brand. One of the examples that we like to draw to a lot is like, there's Burger King and there's McDonald's, and then there's like Shake Shack, right? We love Shake Shack. It's not only is it a fantastic business, but they've set a great example for quick service restaurants, and like we would like to embody that. We'd like to be the Shake Shack of the fast casual Mexican cuisine, and we want to, at the end of the day, like, myself, my staff, like I eat our product 2, sometimes 3 times a day, at least 5 days a week for literally 7 years. So like I want to feel good when I'm eating it. Number one, I want to represent the brand well too, and like at the end of the day, I want to be proud of the product that we serve. I'm not in this to grow to 100 locations and we're very in tune with the business, and we want it to be, it's a direct representation of us and our staff and our mission and our goals. So we're conscious of that, and that's kind of how we walk that fine line between like offering a super high quality product and being able to bring it to a price point that the masses can enjoy, like students, etc.
I really like that you touched on the when you said it make it more attainable.
Yes.
I was kind of curious what you meant by that, but then when you explained the loyalty, but the discounts or the weekly discounts or the day discounts or however you want to phrase it, I think that's really fascinating. It also gives the opportunity for people that maybe on the fence to try the product.
Of course.
They see, everybody loves the deal.
Yeah.
And there's the argument that I don't know. This is kind of just a conversational piece, but the argument that like when you offer discounts, it devalues the product. But I don't know. People have been doing it for 100 years, so I don't know. I'm curious your opinion on that.
I think that's it's so funny you mention that, because people bring that to our attention all the time. But the thing is like every concept is doing it. Just some do it a little bit differently than others. Like for us, like for example, when we open up new locations, like one of our market differentiators is we do $1 burritos on our grand opening day. So you could literally get a burrito, any protein, exactly how you want it. Obviously, guac and queso are the only stipulation that are extra. And our stores, like for example, we just got back from Florida doing it on the 26th. Like we did upwards of 1,000 burritos. So like that's like again, you're 100% correct. Like there's a lot of people that make that argument. We haven't seen that way. At the end of the day, like we're in the volume business. We want to serve as many guests as we can. We want as many people to be familiar with our brand, our product, and our team and our stores as possible. And at the end of the day, offering a discount for us is just the cost of doing that, and we're happy to do it. It's amazing, like seeing the look on people's faces when they bite into one of our, like we mentioned, like a $1 burrito, but you're getting a nice beautiful piece of pork butt, like slow roasted for 8 hours, and chilies and fruit with and fresh guac. Like you eat that for $1, you're like, holy cow, like that's going to leave a lasting impression on our guests. And so for us, like we're components of it. Again, it obviously, I have kind of an accounting finance background, so does my brother, so we're cognizant of it on the business side, of course. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly in the restaurant industry, are scared to do it because again, as you mentioned, they're afraid it's going to damage their brand, but also like there's a lot of people that are worried about the bottom line, as you need to be, but there's tools, there's ways that you can go around it, and as long as you got your finger on the pulse, your finger on the trigger, you're good to go. You know what I mean?
I think expanding on this idea, I think that a conversation that can be had about the devaluing of the product, I think that that phrase in itself kind of explains it a little too. As we're speaking, I was kind of thinking about it as well. As like, yeah. I think that can maybe say something for specifically a product-based company. You make cell phones, yeah. You make sofas, you make products where now people are like, President's Day's coming up, I know this company's going to have a sale. Yeah. You wait for that. I'm not going to necessarily say I'm going to wait for Monday for a burrito.
Of course.
And that's an interesting differential. That's like, all right, we want to go out to eat on Tuesday night. Doesn't whether now the Taco Tuesday was an interesting thing, like that. I mean, where that started 15, 20 years ago, and like I debate they even brought more people into the business. Now,
of course,
but on the same time, people eat every day, so it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm not going to eat today because there's no discount. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's almost because it's a necessity. Maybe not going out is a necessity, but it's such a part of people's lives that I don't know if I would potentially even disagree that it devalues the product.
I would agree, and again, like kind of speaking to it, like we want to make, like we're a company that prides themselves in putting together a really high quality product, right? Healthy eating, like that's the wave that's been a foundational piece of our company, as I've stated before. So like at the end of the day, we just want to make that more attainable for everybody in our communities. Like, one of the things that we're bringing to market is we're offering, obviously we're super tied in with the schools, universities. We're offering like essentially a company-wide student special, a student discount, if you will. And basically what we're looking to do is we're looking to not only provide the student and the faculty and those around them with an initial discount on the product, but then simultaneously use that discount and the tracking that's with it and be able to, essentially rebate back the PTA organizations that control those schools. And essentially, not only are we putting our product out there at a more cost affordable, price for our students and faculty, et cetera, but then we're simultaneously, helping kind of raise funds for them and help fundraise for the schools so we can reinvest it in PTA or, events and school sports and after school activities, et cetera, whatever the PTA decides to spend the money on. So that's one of the things that we're working on.
Feels very reminiscent of when I was a kid, those box tops when you'd buy
product
and you have to send it back in and you get money for your school.
Yeah, of course.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Pivoting back to the cleaning, I'm curious also, where do you guys sit? Do you guys ever find yourself going into like the whole organic produce side, or do you go unconventional? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, of course.
What are the pros and cons as a business owner, your thought process?
Of course. Well, to the business owner, obviously, when you look towards more of like an organic product line, obviously it comes at a higher cost. So you just have to be cognizant of that. You have to watch your bottom line. You need to make sure that, to be able to sustainably offer that product, one, you need to make sure that you're going to be able to feature it at a price point that your guests can tolerate, and also a cost basis that you as the owner and the business owner can tolerate. So that's obviously, one of the biggest obstacles, I would say. But like for us, I mean, we've teamed up with local produce, providers, for the last 7 years. Like that's kind of how we like to go. We obviously have great relationships with the larger broadliners as we continue to scale, but we're only going to partner with a large broadliner if they understand the fact that like, no, we're looking for the quality of that, like as you mentioned, like that working on the farm type quality. Like if we could, that's how we would run the business. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't share in that mission, and if they're not able to fulfill that promise, then like the product's not coming from them. And luckily we have had great success with that. Like our broadliners are fantastic. Our food purveyors are fantastic, and the local produce guys that we use have been amazing. Like you're going to come into a guac shop and you're going to see guac made with Hass avocados. Like that's it. Like that's just what it is, and it's been a catalyst towards our success, and it kind of, I like to think, speaks to itself. And you kind of say like tying back into like the whole like, cheapening the product, like you can only cheapen like my take on it is like, yes, obviously there are people that are going to say, you know what, like as you mentioned, like the Black Friday deals, like, oh, I'm getting this on Black Friday. You know what I mean? There are going to be people like that. But the only time you can really truly damage the product is if the product itself doesn't stand up to what you're originally valuing it at. And like the product will speak for itself in that regard. You know what I mean? And we're confident in that. And should we ever fall short of that? I mean, of course, we're going to make mistakes from time to time. Should we ever fall short of that, excuse me, like it's going to be corrected immediately. And you're going to literally be speaking with myself, my brother, you know, our office team, like direct people within our company that have been with it for the last 7 years. So like you're going to be provided a solution, and we take that feedback extremely seriously. So, you know, again, like that's why for us, like obviously you have to have a little bit of everything to be able to do it. Fortunately, I think we do, and we're looking to not just continue to expand upon it.
So wrapping it up, I want to know, somebody that hasn't come into your store and experienced the food, what would you recommend they try first?
So I always say, like for me, I mean, listen, there's no secret. I don't like to say it, but the C word rhymes with Chipotle, and you can go and get burritos, etc. You know, I was an avid customer of theirs. My brother was an avid customer of theirs. That's ultimately where the concept was inspired by. I always recommend get your Chipotle order. And then just kind of, I behind the counter, our staff and myself will suggestively sell you on, yo, this is great. I think that you should try this sauce on the side though. Like the garlic green sauce, for example, it's confit garlic with, you know, blended spinach and green beans. Like this is gonna hit, definitely put that on the side. Okay, no problem. So like that's kind of how I go about it. That's how we've trained our staff to kind of, because we get people that come up to our counters, oh, it's my first time here. You know, oh, well, what do you like to get at some of our competitors? Like, why don't you try that, you know? So that's kind of how I go about it. Again, there's a lot of differentiating, you know, items to our product line, such as like fresh mango salsa, pickled red and white cabbage that we call our Mexi slaw. We do sweet potatoes, and we have a wide variety of homemade sauces that we make in-house, prepare in-house. So those are kind of the little accoutrements. And I'm like, yo, I know you get the burrito like this, but maybe, you know, try that. Just put this on the side, give it a shot, and it seems to have a pretty good success rate. So, you know, but that's kind of that's where we go with it, yeah.
So going back to the expansion of stores, we are actually sitting in your Comac location, which is the first in Suffolk.
Yes.
You started in Nassau. You have multiple locations in Nassau. Kind of going back to what I asked about the Florida, do you find that there's a different clientele? Do you have to shift so for example, the reason I ask this is I've spoken with a lot of businesses, and one of the business owners, even just a town over, one was in Huntington, one's now in Northport, and they found within that 6-mile radius, completely different clienteles, and they actually had to shift the way that they were thinking about their business models in each location. Do you find that, or is it kind of similar?
I would say our clientele base is very similar. You know, at the end of the day, we kind of serve like the families, the young professionals, the student athletes, etc., looking for a healthy meal on the go. So I would say the clientele base is very similar. But definitely, you know, as you mentioned, being that this is our first Suffolk location, you know, one of the things that's different is obviously like we're networked differently, you know, in Nassau County, being that we've, you know, been doing business there in the surrounding neighborhoods for, you know, upwards of 6-7 years. You know, so one of the things that like we're looking to accomplish here at our Comac location is number one, I look to be as present here as I can. I look to be the ones, as we mentioned before, that's kind of facilitating the guerrilla marketing. Like, hey, Comac High School, you know, I would love to reach out to you and cater lunch for the entire faculty, complimentary. I just want you to try the product. I'll be the one to deliver it. You know, the little leagues, etc. You know, and ultimately like the staff there too. Like if we're not able to physically be at this location every day, you know, for whatever reason, you know, I want our staff to be, you know, committed to that same exact mission too. So that's one of the things that we're looking to do. I'm looking to continue to entrench ourselves in the communities. It will never change, whether, again, we're at 8 or 800 locations one day, hopefully. So that's kind of our mission. That's kind of like what I look to do. It's what I enjoy to do the most. So that's one of the things that I'm looking to do here in Suffolk County. Again, it's our first location. We'd love to continue to expand. And, you know, we hope that they'd be willing to give us a chance and try our product. So that's kind of really where it's at.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be expanding and continuing to go farther out east and farther south down, you know, and
dude,
like that. Absolutely.
100%.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. I really
Likewise.
appreciate you taking the time.
Likewise.
So thank you specifically, but also thank you to all the listeners for whether you listen to this or watch this. Definitely check out Guac Shop. And thank you so much. If you're a business owner or you know any business owners that you think might be a good fit for this podcast, please have them reach out, or please reach out to me directly. And we'll see you in the next video.
100%.
Check out Guac Shop, and thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Pleasure.